This clip was sent in by an airline pilot who had just finished his shift and was driving home from the Los Angeles airport on a Friday night. The driver of the Nissan in front of him dove for an exit a little too late, hit a barrier, and flew into the side of the submitter's Model 3. The 23-year-old female driver of the Nissan claimed in her statement that she was driving home from a bar, but she assured the California Highway Patrol that she'd only had 2 beers. Her disabled vehicle caused a pileup behind them involving several other vehicles, including a motorcycle. In her statement, she lied about what had happened, having no idea that the incident had been captured on video or even that she'd hit the Tesla at all. After the CHP reviewed the Teslacam footage, she was immediately arrested for felony DUI and eventually pled guilty. Amazingly, the submitter was unhurt, but others weren't so lucky. The Tesla was deemed a total loss, and it took 10 weeks for the submitter to get a replacement. He thinks the B-pillar probably saved his life, and he has no idea how he didn't lose control of the car. Despite accepting liability, the Nissan driver's insurance company Geico still hasn't offered settlements to any of those involved, and it's been almost a year since the accident. Loves was driving his Model Y on Long Island in New York City when he noticed 2 cars swerving and brake-checking each other up ahead. The Mazda SUV sped up to pass the Honda that had brake-checked him, but the Honda also sped up and the Mazda ended up ramming into them. This nearly caused 7 cars to crash. Traffic was moving at roughly 60 to 70 miles per hour at the time. This video just goes to show that road rage has consequences. Namasa was driving home late one night in pouring rain in San Diego, California. Up ahead, he saw headlights on the side of the road heading the wrong direction. About the time that he figured out that the car had crashed into the barrier and got spun around, Namasa witnessed another vehicle do the same thing. The truck right in front of him lost control as it passed the wrecked car, hitting the barrier and spinning around just like they had. Dylan was on his way to Las Vegas, Nevada when he felt a sudden impact. His car had been rammed by a Dodge Charger. He couldn't figure out what exactly had happened, and when they stopped on the shoulder, the driver of the Charger couldn't explain it either. The police were called, and the drivers filed insurance claims at the scene. Dylan wants to give a shout out to his son Benji, who just turned 1 and was in the car when this happened. They're so grateful he wasn't hurt in any way. Ben was driving southbound on Interstate 880 in California when he spotted something unusual in his rearview mirror. An Audi driver had apparently figured out a rather creative way to transport large cargo. What's up with all these Californian drivers anyway? Someone told us that they are, in fact, the worst drivers in the United States. Is this true? Let us know in a comment. Jags was driving his Model S in London, England late one night. Up ahead, he noticed a construction vehicle with flashing lights in his lane, so he slowed down a bit to see what was going on. The driver of the black car behind him got impatient and probably hadn't seen the construction truck around the blind corner, so he started to overtake Jags in the middle lane. Jags activated his turn signal to indicate that he also needed to change lanes, so the black car merged into the fast lane. Unfortunately, the driver didn't check for traffic, or else he would have noticed the car speeding up that lane. A white car came flying up at nearly double the speed limit, smashing into the black car. Jags heard the loud impact and instinctively slowed down. The black car spun in front of the Tesla a full 180 degrees. The speeding white car continued for a while before slowing down further down the road. As Jags drove by, he saw that everyone was up and walking around, evidently not seriously injured. Jags called 999 as soon as he got past the truck to let the police know about the accident and to tell them he had footage of it if they needed it. Martin got home after work in downtown Los Angeles, California, and noticed a deep 4-inch scratch on the quarter panel of his Model Y. He knew he hadn't hit anything, so he reviewed his Sentry Mode events from that day. Eventually, he found a video that solved the mystery. It seems like this guy must have been annoyed that he'd had to make an extra maneuver to guide his truck out of a driveway. It's also possible he suffers from a little Tesla envy. He decided to take out his frustration by keying the Tesla's quarter panel. Martin's Model Y was legally parked, and other trucks had been coming and going from the business all day without any problems. It's just one of those streets in LA where parking is a challenge, and every driveway has cars parked near it, so Martin isn't sure why this guy had a problem. Martin had no luck tracking down the person who keyed his Tesla. Unfortunately, the scratch was too deep to polish out, and Tesla is currently out of stock of the pearl white touch-up paint. He's gonna have to wait a while before he can repair the damage. This next clip is also from Martin. This time, he'd parked his Model Y in a garage at the Los Angeles airport. When he got back from his trip, he noticed a Sentry Mode notification, but this time, it was a Wholesome video. Another Tesla owner had parked right next to him. This guy really loves his Tesla, as he took his sweet time dusting it off and covering it up before leaving on his own trip. Martin thinks the other guy deliberately parked next to his Tesla so that he could utilize his Sentry Mode cameras since he'd covered up his own cameras. That's pretty smart. Andrew was at a supercharger when a guy in a Bronco threw what looked like trash at his car. It turned out to be a wrapped burrito from McDonald's, still warm. The direction the Bronco headed was a dead end, so the guy had to turn around and drive by again to leave the parking lot. The whole encounter was strange, and Andrew couldn't figure out if the guy was just trying to give him a warm meal or if there was some other reason for this action. You know what happens when we can't figure something out. It's time for another dad joke competition. Why did this guy throw a burrito at a Tesla? The best joker will win a Wham Bam hoodie. Sean was driving home from work when he spotted a vehicle turning left across the highway. The vehicle behind it tried to swerve around it on the shoulder, but lost control and clipped the SUV, sending it rolling. Sean followed up with the Kansas Highway Patrol, and they told him that the Sumner County Sheriff's Office had investigated the accident. He emailed the deputy who was responsible for investigating the accident, but he never did find out the results of the investigation. This next video is also from Sean. His Model Y was parked in front of his office when he heard a loud bang, ran out front, and discovered a fresh accident. An elderly driver had gotten confused and accidentally hit the wrong pedal. Sean told us this happens occasionally in his town. In 2014, a car went through the front of his office building and hit the desk his secretary was sitting at. Fortunately, nobody was harmed, but the secretary was in a state of shock when he arrived back at the office. Alex was driving home from work when an unlicensed teenager driving a pickup truck decided to change lanes even though Alex's Tesla was in the way. Her truck pushed Alex's car into the left lane, which was already occupied by a gray Mercedes. He stopped behind the pickup truck in the left turning lane. The first person to come talk to him was the driver of the Mercedes. She insisted that he'd hit her car, but Alex told her, "I'm sorry if I did, but I ended up in your lane because the pickup in front of me ran into me." Alex didn't view his Teslacam footage until the cops arrived a little later. When he watched the footage with the officers, they all discovered two things. A, he actually hadn't run into the Mercedes, and B, the driver of the pickup was 100% at fault. The teenager's boyfriend gave Alex an insurance card, but the insurance policy actually covered a completely different vehicle. When Alex's insurance provider contacted the company on the card, the boyfriend insisted that the vehicle in question had been sold. This meant that the insurance policy was invalid. Alex's Tesla is in a body shop right now. Fortunately, Alex was paying for uninsured motorist coverage, and his insurance provider will sue the teenage driver if it comes down to it. This submitter was driving his Model 3 in the Netherlands. The driver of a white delivery van wanted to merge into the highway lanes to the left. A black Tesla was passing him on the left, and neither driver was paying attention when the driver of the van made a lane change. The submitter saw the driver of the black Tesla make a quick evasive maneuver, and he thinks Autopilot was responsible. There was no contact between the vehicles, and no road rage either. What a twist! Eugene was driving his Model Y in Palos Verdes, California, when the driver of an Audi made an illegal U-turn into a Prius. Eugene stopped and made sure everyone was okay. He shared his Teslacam footage with the Prius driver, who told him they're now considering an upgrade to a Tesla. Savage was driving his Model 3 on a freeway in Grand Prairie, Texas, when he came across a car driving the wrong way in the left lane at high speed. Savage called 911 and reported the wrong-way driver. The next morning when he turned on the news, he learned that the wrong-way driver had made headlines when he ended up crashing into a gas pipeline.
Mansfield police say a speeding, wrong-way driver crashed into a gas pipeline overnight, sending flames high into the air. Video shows just how bad it was. This is near 287 and 360, the merge. Police say they were alerted about a wrong-way driver and a DPS trooper was headed that way, but before they got there, the speeding driver veered 125 feet from the road and hit the pipeline.
Wham bam, Teslacam. Hope you're satisfied.